guys, Brian Stevens here with Mortgage Shots. Today we have Jim Neighbors, who is the president of the National Association of Mortgage Brokers. How are we doing today, Jim?
Can't do any better. I'm in Disney World, have a trigger leads bill that's been introduced into both houses of Congress. I'd say it's a good week.
Well, let's jump right into that. Trigger leads. Since I jumped back into loans, I can't believe what a nuisance trigger leads are. It's unbelievable. Certainly, it's got to be, first of all, trigger leads has to be a massive moneymaker for the credit reporting agencies, right?
I believe they are, because there's all different types of trigger leads too. We're concerned about the mortgage trigger leads. There's also auto trigger for insurance. People get a ton of calls on those too. But, we're in the mortgage business and we're concerned mostly about mortgages, which is, the largest single wealth builder that the American people have, and is the most time-consuming product to put together. That's why, we feel this bill is going to be important to us for not only those of us in the industry, but most importantly for our clients.
Yeah, I for those of you who don't know, it's when you pull a residential mortgage credit report, it's going to go ahead and trigger that person's information that's going to be sold off to lenders. And it's really harassing, the unwarranted calls that some of our clients will get. I've heard of clients turning their phone off for days because they were getting 30, 40, 50 calls a day. And that's not an exaggeration. I mean, this is downright harassment.
Last Tuesday, when we had our legislative conference, one of our members, who's a retired major in the United States Army, was putting together a reverse mortgage for his mother. He was taking her application, and he pulled a credit bureau, said, "I'll get back to you, Mom. I'm going to go into this session." And then his phone started blowing up with her calling him, wanting to know why she was getting all types of calls from people. It was less than 15 minutes after he pulled the credit.
Wow.
It was that quick. And she was she's in her 80s, getting a reverse mortgage. And it was just like, she didn't understand it at all.
It is. It's harassment.
Yeah. It's harassment to everyone, but particularly to seniors that are maybe a little less technology focused. So, and even the people that we've talked to, every congressman we had talked to, every staffer we talked to has heard from constituents about this harassment they're getting and how bad it is and the need to clean it up.
Now, this has been going on for a long time. Trying to get rid of trigger leads, which I think would be an easy bipartisan issue to tackle, has been going on for an unbelievable amount of time. So we don't need to get into why it's taken that long, lobbyists. But what we can do is, let's talk about the fact that you have, in the Senate and the House, you've got a bill on the floor right now. Do we anticipate these are going to be passed? Are they going to get struck from the bill? How do we feel? What are our chances?
Well, when you look at it, there's two freestanding bills. In the Senate, it's Senate Bill 1467, and in the House, it's House Resolution 2808. In the Senate, sponsored by Jack Reed, who sponsored it last time, along with Senator Haggerty. That bill passed unanimously at the end of the last session in December through the Senate, unanimously. The House, at 4 o'clock, it was in. At 5 o'clock, it was out with the continuing resolution. And that was because Chairman McHenry at the time, that was like his last day of service because he was retiring, just didn't like it, just didn't want it. And he had that kind of power. So he kept it from being introduced and included in the continuing resolution. This time, we have more of a united front. All of industry is gathered on these two bills. The MBA, NAMB, every mortgage origination association is involved in this. And we had one bill, the MBA had another bill, and it took a while for them to get together last time through the last session. But this session, right up front, we're all united on this bill.
Here's my question for you. If the NBA and NAMB are against this, I can't imagine why anyone would be for it except for those who are buying the trigger leads, which beckons the question, who's buying these trigger leads?
Remember when interest rates dropped to 3% and how our business grew and you didn't have to know how to do anything except answer a phone? Okay, well, those days are over. And now you have to develop relationships. You have to develop business. You have to develop sources. You have to develop clients on your own. And some people who came into the business and never learned how to actually develop relationships with realtors or financial planners or estate attorneys or whatever. They just were easy. They were answering the phone. And their first out is, oh, I can buy these leads. I can buy them from the credit bureau. And the credit bureau, and this is my pet peeve, I'm their credit bureau's customer. I'm the one that's paying them for the credit bureau, the tri-MERS that they're pulling, and then they're taking the information I'm providing them, the updated address, the updated email address, the updated phone number, and they're turning around and selling it to 50 or 60 other companies, who are basically people that never learned how to make a loan. And when I talk to people, and I'm like, join NAMB, that's what we're putting together. We're putting together all these groups to teach you how to do a better job at what if this is your chosen profession. Being a mortgage broker, it's a good job. It provides a great life, but you have to put in the time and effort that you're going to need to succeed at it. The easy days of just waiting for your phone to ring or just calling people, looking up, the old thing before trigger leads was looking up mortgage filings. You'd go to the county, look up people's mortgage filings, track them down, and send them a piece in the mail, and then you'd call them. That was in the 70s and the 80s, early 90s. But nowadays, I'll just buy the lead from the credit bureau. And that's what we need. That's what we're working on trying to put it into.
Well, listen, I hope these things go through. Is there any call to action that a loan officer could do right now that might help this out?
NAMB.org. You go there. We have under Advocacy. All you have to do is put in your address and your zip code, and we will give you the list of all of not only your congressmen, but the senators, so that you can, and there's even a sample letter there. If you want to use that letter, go ahead. If you want to make changes to it, even better. A lot of people are just saying, this is my first time. I'm going to go with what NAMB wrote, what they wrote for me, and they put their name in and who's it going to be addressed to. My case, it would be Pat Miller is my congressman up in Cleveland, and hit a button and boom, off it goes. It gets emailed right to his office.
Yeah, because I got to tell you guys, everybody needs to do this because, Jim said, now we have to build a business. And he's absolutely right. Gone are the easy days. I called it taking orders for pastrami sandwiches. We're not making pastrami sandwiches anymore. You got to actually earn and build your business. Trigger leads are not a way to earn and build a business. Trigger leads are a way to create havoc and give everybody in the mortgage space a bad name. Everybody. Because when Jim does a good job on his loan, it helps me with my loans. If Jim does a bad job on his loans, it hurts me. Reputationally, we're all in the same little fishbowl. And these trigger leads give everybody who writes mortgages a bad name. So jump on NAMB.org, go to Advocacy, find out who your reps are, but make sure you actually do it.
There's something else they can do. Once they have that information on who their congressman is, they can go online, find out where he is, because they're on Easter break. But that means they're not in D.C. They're going to be at home. So maybe you want to call and stop in and talk to them or talk to one of their aides. We are mobilizing everybody in every state we have to not only, like I'll be in D.C. probably 6 or 7 times in the next 2 months because we're trying to get this done quickly. At the same time, we're asking all our people, hey, contact your local congressman. Make an appointment to go see him. A lot of people have never been to their congressman's office or their senator's office. In Ohio, a senator has 5 offices. My congressman has 3, and they're all within probably 20 minutes, depending on, like I said, I live in Cleveland. It's 20 minutes away. But for some people, I'm going to say if you're in North Dakota, it's probably going to be a little longer of a ride. But still, they're going to have a local office that's staffed that you could at least meet with a staffer. And I think the secret to this is when we went to the Hill the day after Senator Reed and Congressman Torres and Congressman Flood, we had all these speakers. And Congressman Rose, Congressman Torres, Senator Reed, when they came to speak to us, right after these were introduced, we started going to the Hill, and no matter who we talked to, whether it was my congressman or a senator, every single one of them had already had constituents contact them about the problem and the harassment they were getting on these trigger leads. So we're asking everyone in the industry, just reach out to your congressman, reach out to your senator, and tell them. And if you have a personal relationship with them, even better. But if you have a personal story about someone who's been affected by it, take the time to tell them. And because they will listen, because this has grown exponentially. And we're hoping that if the entire industry works together, that Congress will move on this fairly quickly.
Okay, we have Valerie Saunders, the Chief Executive Strategist over at the National Association of Mortgage Brokers. We're here to talk about the Hive. It's a new marketing group that they're rolling out. But before you do that, I just want to say this. I have a group that I've been working with for the past 3 years. The idea is built around crowdsourcing. And what we do is we get loan officers from around the country to support each other, to crowdsource, come up with marketing ideas, work with each other, and really elevate everybody to create a community. The reason why we call it pods is because we have pods who we meet with smaller groups, but then twice a week we come together in what we've called for the last 3 years the Hive. And the Hive is a bunch of loan officers who are working together inside pods. So let me ask you, where did you come up with the idea of the Hive?
So I think we owe you like a residual fee or something for the name, maybe. Is that what
And the images too.
Uh-oh. Okay. Well, Jim, put that on the list. So the concept for the Hive basically came about where, we all talk a lot on social media platforms, and we're on all these different Facebook groups. And it was really to try to create a sort of a safe space where we can all come together and actually have meaningful discussions. But if you want to ask a question about a product or about a marketing concept, or you want to view one of our past webinars, we do a lot of webinars on social media, marketing, a variety of tools, and you want to go and look at that and maybe get an idea of something that was talked about by one of our strategic sponsors. Or we also have access to all of our NAMB Inspire webinars are on there as well. So you maybe want to go back and look at one of those. All of that is there, and we will be constantly adding things to the Hive. We also have coaches who will be posting on a daily basis different pieces of information that might be able to help you in your day-to-day business. Also, if you just want to ask questions and you're looking for sort of like a mentoring group, we have that as well. We have a calendar, and we'll just, we've started with this. And we're going to just keep building it so that, we have, just as you have, a large community of people who can come together and help each other in a meaningful way.
That sounds fantastic. So if you guys would like to learn more about the Hive, all you have to do is click the banner that you see over on the site and reach out to the folks over in NAMB, the good people in NAMB, and see what they have to say. Guys?
One last thing. Our Hive will talk about politics too. Talk about what you need to do to become more involved in your government and control of your own industry.
Well, at a time when, boy, I think everybody needs it. We've always had turbulent waters in front of us. What do you think the next month is going to look like? And nobody knows. It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be exciting.
Strap in, that's for sure.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Stay healthy.